first time tonight, we are live streaming on Facebook as well. And I'm even going to check
Yay!
that it's on there. Yes, we have Karen back in the house. Oh, yep, there we are. Are we? No. Yes, we have Karen back in the house tonight. Karen is a previous guest that we had on here, and she shared her personal story. And you guys are always welcome to check out the full episode over at my website, makeupyourpower.com. We are on Podbeam, Apple Podcasts as well. So I'm going to let Tina take it from here, and welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
Hi guys, welcome in. I know we've been kind of meshing things up over the last couple days since Nicole created the 30-day challenge, but I also wanted to make sure that today we also inform you of the reasons behind this challenge, this podcast, and how we kind of got here. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar with me, I am a grief coach. I am somebody who helps support the identity shifting, the emotions, the ability to move forward, the resilience. And after having the opportunity to talk to Karen and her son at the time, it was just such a heartwarming story, although heartbreaking. It was amazing to see how far Karen was able to come in her own journey. So I'm just going to kick it off just so those of you can understand the emotions that are tied to grief and to loss. Um, there are losses that change the shape of a life. There's losses that don't just hurt, they rearrange you. And today we're stepping into a story that carries the kind of grief most people can't imagine. The loss of children, the loss of a husband, the loss of the future you thought you were building. This isn't the kind of pain you get over, it's the kind you learn to breathe inside of. But this episode isn't only about devastation, it's about the quiet, stubborn ways light returns, not all at once, not bright, but in small, almost invisible ways that remind us you're still here. It's about the moment you realize that even in the deepest darkness, your heart is still capable of reaching towards something warm. That healing doesn't mean forgetting, it means living to live with love and loss in the same breath. If you've ever wondered how a person survives the unimaginable, if you've ever felt like your story ended the day your world shattered, this conversation is here to remind you there is a path forward. Not back, but forward. And the light at the end isn't a destination, it's a beginning. So let's get started and welcome Karen in and to hear her story between death, dying, grief, loss, identity shifting, and somehow having the courage to find the light at the end of the tunnel. Karen, welcome in.
Thank you so much. I am, again, very happy to be here. I just want to clarify the fact that the reason why I'm here is that I want to possibly help somebody else. I want people out there to know that you may go through the darkest day, week, month, years, and I just need you to know that if you just keep persevering, there will be a little bit of sunshine on the other side of it. Some days it just takes a little bit longer than others. My story is the fact that I have lost 3 of 4 children. Starting in 1998, we lost a stillborn, Molly. I was 37 weeks gestation with her. In 2011, my husband's eldest son, Christopher, he was 29. He died of suicide. And then 1 year and 1 month later, we lost our 17-year-old son 2 days before graduation of high school. And that morning, he had graduation rehearsal. And then that night was the award ceremony. And he had 5 hours in between. And his dad said, well, what do you want to do? And he's like, let's go riding, Dad. And so they got on their motorcycles and navigated a curvy road that he's been on before. However, the motorcycle was new to him and it sat lower to the ground, and he didn't have enough lean to stay on the road. And so he went off the road, and my husband, Craig, had to turn around and come back, and Patrick ended up dying in his arms. So I have one left, and that's Garrett. Today he's 26 years old, and what an old soul he is, and I am blessed to have him. And he was 12 when his brother died, and he had to grow up fast. He had to be an adult. He had to work the family business. He kind of lost out on that young teen life to that, and there's nothing I can do about that now. But he is an amazing young man that we usually talk every day when he gets out of work. We check in with each other. He can appreciate if mom's like, I hear there's a big car accident up near you. How you doing? And he's very good at of appreciating where my anxiety may be coming from at times as well. In February 1st of 2025, Craig lost his battle of life to mental illness, and he died of suicide. After Patrick died in 2012, he spent 13 years as a shell of a man, and as it just progressively got worse. I have said that Craig, especially in the end, lived for me. He would wake up in the morning, he would get dressed, he would work our property, and he did it for me. And I know that. And I said before, I had been loved and adored for 38 years, and I cannot argue with that. And so now, as I'm mowing my property, as I was just telling Nicole, I said that I had to learn how to disconnect the mower deck from the mower because I've got to change the blades. And I look up and I say, thank you, Craig, because you have taught me this. You have taught me to be independent as I need to, and I can take care of myself, or at least I know how to contact others and to help me as well. So I think of Craig, I talk of him, and in a very positive light, and to what he did for me. And it was, I'm going to share with you real quick. I had a dream the other night, and I had made some lemon bars, and I dreamed that he'd come to me. He's like, "Where's the lemon bars?" And I'm like, "I've never made him lemon bars before. Why does he want lemon bars?" And I woke up crying, and I got myself together and I went into the other room, and I said to him, I said, "But you left me. Why are you doing this to me?" And ultimately, yeah, he may have left me, but he did it for me. He released me, and I can look at it that way as well. So, now we're a year off, and then I have a special sparkle in my eye. Got a guy in my world that is creating a smile and finding joy and finding light as we go.
Karen, there's a lot of emotions that come through during grief, and there's no timeline. There's no right way to grieve. It's unfortunate not everybody understands that. I guess you have to live it to really truly appreciate it. But help the audience understand that it wasn't easy to move on from Craig, but when you met this other individual, he didn't replace Craig, but
no, not at all.
He opened up another piece to your heart. Can you kind of explain what those emotions were like? Because I'm imagining people were looking at you like, "What's Karen doing? She started a whole new life over." And sometimes that's harder than talking about the loss.
Sometimes I remember sitting with a group of women who've also lost children. We had a small group within the little small town that I was in, and we would be, and all of a sudden someone would feel guilty about laughing. And because there are people in the room that know that your child died, and now they're laughing, we all have to process it the way we do. And as I've said, my mantra is however you feel right now is absolutely correct. And don't let anybody try to tell you otherwise. I can go back to my memory of Patrick's birthday is October, and it's been 13 years. I honestly anticipated just cleaning out a drawer and not making it, but I woke up and this heaviness, this wave of, I'm like, where did that come from? And it will smack you when you're not ready for it, and you just have to take some deep breaths and say, it's okay. You're okay to feel this way and to go through. I remember my father had gotten remarried pretty quickly after my mom died, and she had cancer and not a long illness, but enough there too. And he was 65 years old, and he's like, if society wants to say that you have to wait 2 years before you can get on with your life, then that's not the society he wants to be part of. And so he got married within that first year. And you know what? He had 11 more years in his world. And if I'm 59 years old this year, I don't want to have to wait another 5 years because somebody down the road thinks that I should be grieving differently. And we all grieve differently. And we just need to be gracious to allow people. So when you have an off day, you can just say, well, I'm having an off day. And that is one thing that Garrett and I live well with. It's like, how you doing? Well, not having a great day. It's okay. You're allowed to not have a great day. It's okay. Just know that I'm here. And I'm not trying to, tell you to suck it up, buttercup, and get outside or anything like that. I mean, you're allowed to feel that way. And eventually you'll process through it and go through it. Does that answer your question?
It does. You know what, I'm trying to break through some of the societal norms, right? And labels that people put on these things. And it sounds like that first flicker of light led you to put a lot of faith and love into the fact that Craig was probably guiding you towards your next chapter.
Adventure. I call it my next adventure, right, in my life. And I listen to people and they talk about, oh, I'm looking for my soulmate. I'm looking for I'm like, you know what? I can't say that because I probably had that, right? Yeah. So I'm not looking for a soulmate. I'm looking for someone that I can enjoy this next step with and laugh with and just sit and hold hands with and just enjoy this new adventure, right, in our lives going forward. And everybody deserves that.
They do. Everybody and does. So I was just going to ask you to kind of say, as a reminder to folks that might be sitting in the same place, not knowing when is the right time for me to start living again. There is no timeline, right? But what was...
You keep living.
You keep living. But what took place inside of you that gave you that sense of comfort that you knew this was what you needed to do?
So Craig and I had many conversations, lifelong conversations about, he would say, honey, when I die, you're going to sell this house and you're going to go buy a condo downtown. And I would say, honey, when you die, I'm getting 2 cats to replace your butt and go to any Sweet Adeline event I want to. I mean, we say this in jest, but it was valid. I mean, there we're not cracking. We're not trying to make cracks about it. It was legitimate. And that first 3 to 4 weeks, I was like, hoo-hoo, freedom. I can plan and do whatever I want and not have to ask anybody's permission. Right? Again, we were together for 38 years, and I did that. I scheduled 7 little trips throughout the summer and did that. And then probably 6 weeks in, I started to feel that loneliness, and I'm independent. I could live alone. I'm too social of a person to not. And so I got on the dating apps, after about 3 months, and just started to get out there and meet people, and this one just kind of stuck. So Michael and I have been seeing each other for about 11 months, and it's been good.
We had the same birthday.
It's been a nice slow burn. And Nicole met him.
Yeah.
Does she approve?
Oh yeah.
I guess. Do you know what she said to him? She said to him, "So,
Mad.
Michael, what's your intention with our Karen?"
I mean, I ask the tough questions, guys. That's what I'm here for.
Well,
But I'm proud of you though, and I'm happy for this next stage of life for you. Because since we last recorded, even when I reflect back on looking at our conversations, it's just so beautiful to see the safety, the safe space that you had allowed yourself, that you've allowed Garrett, the people you've surrounded yourself with, the way that you also, use music to heal. I think what's really beautiful, and I really want the audience and everybody that's listening to see, is that we all experience pain, trauma, grief, but it's what we do with it, right? It's the beauty
Right.
that we create from our experiences, and that means continue to live. And what brings joy and peace to your heart, and not waiting for the moment when somebody allows you to start living again. And I just admire that so much that you've done that. And how has your life unfolded since recording? Now, you've mentioned about, there was a moment that you had there with Craig spiritually. Have you noticed anything else, like some healing that has happened or anything that's come into your awareness since you were able to share your story?
I think that when I had to mow the yard, right, because it wasn't my job before, and it's a pretty big yard, and I'd be on that riding lawnmower, and it just gave me time to talk with nature. Um, I have never been one to go to a cemetery to talk to my loved one. I believe that you bring your loved one with you, so it doesn't matter where you go. You might as well just talk at home. But I talk up there, and I thank him for everything that he taught me. And I grew up with him because I was 19 when I met him. Uh, so he gave me a lot of business sense and everything else that I am today. And I'm marketing and everything I do for my business. And then I can also enjoy the joy of my singing, because I am a barber shopper and I sing with the Sweet Adelines. And I've got a big group down here as well. And they all know my story. And you go in and get hugs, and women thrive on that, on finding other women to talk with and just be around and go have lunch with, and you need to find some women groups, and there are support groups. You got to find the right one for you, right? And the one that really worked for me is called Compassionate Friends, and it's parents who have lost children, siblings who have lost siblings, grandparents who have lost children, and it's specific, not just it's not just a grief group. It is a specific group that nobody wants to be a member of, but there are many out there that are in that same group, so that helped.
I love that. Yeah, because I will say real quick though that the views on all the podcasts that we've had, your story has definitely reached the most people. And I just wanted to let you know that, and that I was very happy and grateful that you were willing to be so vulnerable, transparent, and inspiring in sharing your experiences in such a way that is so life filling and life renewing. So I just wanted to share
I
that with
got
you.
I got a phone call from a realtor that I bought my house from down here, and I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee, in case anybody didn't know that. She had called me, and she said she watched it and that she shared it with a gal who is going through a very similar situation right now. And the gal watched it and just appreciated to know that you're not alone, that somebody else had gone through this and survived and come back the other side. And the realtor said, I'm sure that Karen would be willing to talk with you. And absolutely, I am ready to be there to help anybody to process and just talk and just be that other person that knows what you're feeling. Not expected for me to solve your problem, just to let you share your problem.
Yes,
yeah,
so
I appreciate that, Karen, because I think having navigated loss in my own space, I remember not wanting to be around anybody who is going to offer any sense of judgment on the process I was going through to get to the other side. I lost my parents in 21 and 22. It is 26 and I'm just getting grounded. So it's a journey, and the fact that you have had the amount of loss and the deepest loss from, children to your husband, your story just was so inspiring. And that's why I do the work I do, because if you can offer a little light to somebody who's in a very
Right.
dark space, you actually bring them a bit further than where they were. And I think that that's your story. Your story is all about Nicole's tagline, love and light.
Mhm.
So I appreciated learning about it. I also really appreciated the fact that your son was so welcoming to sharing his side of the emotions, from, not being the parent but being the child.
And he was blatantly honest. He
Right.
didn't hold back. I mean, he definitely
And
shared.
what's your reflection on that? I just, as you were saying that, what were your thoughts when you listened to Garrett's interview?
So, right, because I talked with you, but I hadn't heard what Garrett had said. And so I'd gone through, and Garrett talked for almost 2 hours. And I was so impressed I was more impressed with what he said versus what I said. And he was very chronological in the amount of losses that young man had to. I mean, it's just, usually we don't, our first loss is going to be our grandparents. I mean, that's usually what we experience. And he had so many child friends, classmates, neighbors. I mean, he just is amazing what he had gone through before we even gotten to his own sibling. um, and he is incredibly eloquent in conversation, matter of fact, but in a very open, warm type of thing. So I was just, if anything, I was incredibly proud. And I sent those links off to my friends. I said, you got to hear Garrett. He did a great job. And, and with it being as long as it was, you kind of do it in chunks, right? To go through there. So I was very, very proud. Um, yeah.
Garrett's vulnerability, um, before I had the opportunity to hear your story, Garrett's vulnerability went just beyond the grief. He really opened up to the challenges he faced emotionally and mentally, and
Mhm.
how he leaned into that, and proud of it. And that's what was so heartwarming, was just being able to listen to him trust his heart as to what he needed to do for himself to be able to move forward and not stay stuck.
And that's a key right there, that if Garrett can still love himself and understand to separate the anger that his father inflicted, okay, having and talking, just having to be part of that, and understanding to separate that is mental illness, that isn't me personally. And that's hard. 19, 20, 21 year old, I mean, it's a whole different ballgame if he's 8, but for being a late teen, early 20, um, and being able to separate that and say, okay, that's just him, and I have a better self-worth than that. He didn't get beat down by it, but being able to talk about it breaks you through a shell that you put armor on, because you don't want the world to know exactly how you feel or exactly what's going on in your world. So you wear an armor, and if you're able to open that armor up and share, you're going to help somebody else. And if somebody else can learn or process or feel or understand that, then my work is done.
Yeah,
And he's big
it
with
is a
his faith
reflection on
too.
you. It is a reflection on you as mom. It's a reflection of maturity on Garrett's part. Probably, maybe even, took him through maturity a bit sooner than the average kid. But I I like that we're having this conversation because what's most important to me for viewers is to remove the stigma about grief. People think there's a roadmap, and people don't want to talk to you after somebody passes because they feel like you're going to judge them. You're going to judge them because now, in this day and age, there's so many decisions that need to be made on what you're going to do. Are you going to go the hospice route? Are you going to go this route? Are you going and hospice alone has its own stigma to it. People really think that's where you go to put people down. And I hate that phrase. I've had to make those decisions in my life more than once. And I never wanted that to be back of my head. It was within the best interest of the individual that we took whatever course we took. But to hear people say it's been 3 years, get over it. Like, what's wrong? Why are you stuck? I'm not stuck. I've changed. I've changed.
Yeah.
My healing process brought me through a whole new journey. And I think people
that's a
forget.
big part to look at too, is that with our losses or our physical losses, I guess we could say, because we just transmute, our energy just changes and it just changes form, but we also embody after they've passed a whole new level of us. And I believe that that's why a lot of our relationships change, evolve, or end after we lose somebody, because there's kind of a new level of identity that we kind of tap into now that that loved one's gone. There's that shift that happens, and not everybody will understand that or be able to come along with it. But I really loved how with Garrett, he was very faith-based. Even at moments where he felt like he turned away, he definitely always reminded us in the audience that it was always right there, and that was beautiful too, because I believe that there's a level of faith and hope that we need to keep lit within us for those darkest days. Faith is easy when life is easy. It's when it's hard that we really have to have it, endure it, and be the shining light with it. And I admire truly how, you guys walk with that. Even though it may look differently, Karen, like you guys definitely have that level of light and faith and knowing. And I believe it's definitely relates to your intuitive aspects as well that I like to speak highly on, and often on here, is because that's important, right? Is how your body is able to process it. Are we retaining the emotion and trapping ourselves in that guilt and shame? Or are we allowing it to process? Like you say, you're allowed to feel exactly how you feel at any moment. I can relate because I can have any moment out the day. I'm very connected with my dad spiritually, but I'll still cry or just have that moment where he'll just kind of hit me and I'll just kind of sit with it for a moment. But there's something beautiful in being able to allow yourself that vulnerable moment too, right? So,
Yeah, and Craig had he met with a psychologist that did well with him, and I think one of the biggest things that his psychologist had said to him was, he's like, I cry every day. Or, if you sit in your chair and you have more time to think about it, then more tears flow. And so he gave him permission, say, you know what? Set a timer. You have 10 minutes. Cry, be sad, do whatever. At the end of that timer, then it's time to do something else. And some people might do yoga. I know that's great. Nicole loves to do yoga, especially on my deck. Maybe you're listening to music. Maybe you're singing at the top of your lungs, AC/DC or whatever. Whatever you can find that's not food or alcohol or drugs, but if you can find some kind of outlet. So for me, what's that?
because Craig was doing a lot of landscaping, so that was kind of grounding and helping.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was clearing the land, and when you change something, when something starts one way and you change it. So yes, clearing the land and seeing the brush being removed and seeing what you've done. If you take an old piece of metal and you polish it up, or you're creating something new, and he's like, I always forget to take pictures of the before and then the after. But yeah, finding necessarily a creative way, but finding a physical way through it can help to find something else, to take that energy, that sad energy that you have, and put a puzzle together, or
channel it.
jump rope, or just go for a walk to the mailbox, or something to change the viewpoint for just a little bit. It'll just get you that closer to the little bit of light.
And I think it's important too about our thoughts, because a lot of our mental chatter inside, if we do sit in that, and I know that Craig had a difficult time with a lot of his internal beliefs and chatter that was going on, and my father did as well. There was definitely comparisons that I would think of in regards to them, that they can be the most fun loving and joyful when you could see their inner kid come out, but they could also let a lot of what was happening in the world or what they were consuming on TV or health wise really see it take a turn on what their belief system was creating inside. And I would always say, if you change your thoughts, you can change your life. So try to replace with positive, and it would help a little bit. But then my father would inevitably kind of fall back into, the old ways of beliefs, just in a quick of an eye, because the news would just stay on in that background, like it was family.
Well, and as we know, things don't, it won't solve that quickly, right? But if you can give yourself an extra 5 minutes a day in a positive light or in a productive light, then that's 5 minutes less than you had the day before, right? That in a self-loathing, just sadness, yeah. So, and it will come in waves. As I said, 13 years later, here I am on Patrick's birthday, and it just hit me right between the eyes, and I was not prepared for it. I'm like, it's been 13 years. Why is this affecting me? And it can, and it will, and it's okay.
And it could be just a rush of love that's coming through. And what's beautiful, though, that I wanted to share when I was saying about the thoughts, is that I've noticed that you've always held a very positive viewpoint in regards to any experience, even if it was difficult. And it is difficult. And I think that shows a lot of being able to heal and really turn that pain into the power, whereas it was more difficult, especially for masculines. They were never really raised being like vulnerable with other guys. It was more like giving each other shit rather than giving them an open space to share. And I think that when you were bringing up the community of women and being able to have that space and how important that is, I think it's also important that we share that for you masculines. It's also important that you guys have that space as well, to be able to unravel in a way that necessarily your spouse might not be able to help you be able to do. So also lean into that with mental health, whether you're a guy or a female, talking is talking. So.
Karen, what do you do? I don't know if this is too personal of a question, and if it is, just please let me know. But do you have certain traditions that you do to honor your children and your husband?
Well, that's a great story. The very first Christmas after Patrick died, Garrett was 12, or he just turned 13, I guess, this year. And you're setting up Christmas decorations. And you're like, well, do I pull out the stockings? Do I pull out the stocking with his name on it? If I pull out the stocking and Garrett has stocking and Patrick has it empty, it's just going to reinforce the fact that Patrick's not there. If I don't pull out the stockings, then Garrett gets hurt, eliminated by that process, because we don't want to talk about the fact that we don't have one for your brother. We don't have a present for your brother. And it was until December 23rd of that year, I finally had my aha moment. I know what to do. And I went to the local Hallmark store and I bought an ornament that had the year on it. So I had the year of 2012, and that was my most important thing. I needed an ornament with 2012 on it. And I found the perfect ornament. I wrapped it up. I put it in the stocking. So in the morning, Garrett opened up the stocking and put the ornament on the tree. And I did that for 7-8 years until Garrett moved out. And every year I would be more focus on what type of ornament it's going to be. You know, it's going to be Patrick liked to ski, or it was his car, or it was he's Irish, and just things like that. And so I would specifically go get an ornament and put that in there, and that was the rep. So that was one of the traditions that I kept for me. And then I remember the first Christmas dinner or even Thanksgiving dinner, and I set a plate, and Craig had, place for him, and Craig's like, do you really want to do that? And I went, yep, I do. And so I had a plate for him, and I didn't necessarily have to do it the second year, but that's what it was the first year, and it's okay. So as long as however it is, however you feel it, it's okay. And we were fortunate in our family that I didn't have, Craig wasn't on my case about, get over it or anything like that, because, he too was having his own demons. And I never said that to him as well.
Yeah.
If anything with Garrett, as he had said his, he's like, my parents wouldn't leave me alone. As a 12-year-old, we're like, are you okay? Do you need to talk to somebody? And trying to focus all my grief energy to make sure that he's okay. And he's like, just take care of yourself, kind of thing. So,
yeah.
But yeah, there will be new traditions.
Yeah. And that's okay. Right? It's okay. Yep. I remember there were two things that I wanted to share. One was the first year my father was gone for Christmas. It was a double hitter. It was Christmas and his birthday. And I had my mom with me, and I had decorated. I was a little hesitant about decorating, but she was still here. She liked Christmas. So I had found a flameless candle, and I put it on a pedestal near the Christmas tree, and I would light it. And she'd say, can you help me understand what Christmas decoration this is? And I said, it's a candle in memory of Dad. I said, so we're going to light it next to the tree as he is still with us. It's just physically you can't see him. And that bothered her. I had to meet her halfway on that, understanding she had her own way of grieving, right? So it was just one of those moments where I thought I was doing a good thing, and it turned out to be an emotional trigger. So I put the candle somewhere else. But I was just having a conversation with a girlfriend of mine who's going through a very tragic situation with her mom. And we were both talking about how we feel stoic and we feel judged because we don't have emotions right away. And so when people come to see you right after somebody has passed, and you look fine, you look like you're having an average day, it's a normal Tuesday, even at the funerals and the wakes, you're like holding it together. You're doing what you're right. doing. We were talking about, is there something wrong with us? And the answer is no. It's when we process it. And I had said I never saw my mother cry. And even the day my father died, I'm like, are you gonna cry? Like, there's got to be something that triggers your emotion here. And she was like, I don't need to cry. I just need to think. I said, okay. So I left her with her thoughts. January. So my dad died in May. In January, my mom and I went to the cemetery because his stone was put in. We got up to the plot, and I just melted down. I just lost it. That was actually the first time I actually cried over my father. And she looked at me. You had to know my mother to love my mother. She said, what are you crying for? I'm like, this really puts it into perspective. There's a stone, there's his name, there's a date. I said, I didn't expect it to hit me like that. She goes, you shouldn't be crying, you should be praying. And I was like, wow, you are a cold-hearted bitch. And I just, this is like the two of us were very close, and we were, best friends as mom and daughter can be. But I was so challenged by how she was managing her own grief versus how I was managing it. So for months we just clashed and had to be in separate rooms because it was just, she couldn't understand my path and I couldn't understand hers. It wasn't until after my mom passed that it made sense to me. I don't know what clicked.
And what's interesting, I'm sorry. What's interesting is that you had the relationship difference between your mom, who lost her spouse, and the daughter who lost her father, and well, there too. So that the whole and everybody's relationship is different, and so we're all going to grieve or process. I would be like, not very often anybody's actually saw me cry. I did that in private, right? And even the first 3 weeks after Craig died, somebody was with me. Garrett was with me for the first week, and then my best friend came up, and then my sister-in-law came up. And I was like, I'm not crying in front of anybody. I would go outside for, to get the mail, whatever. And then I would I would shake visibly, to just let it go and just to allow myself to cry. And then I came back inside, and this is the way that you get now. So that stoic word is incredibly strong, as well as a mask that we wear to the public. And that's who it is. That's what we are. And it's okay as well.
It's a matter of where you feel safe to be able to be that vulnerable. Not everybody you can be vulnerable around.
Mm-hmm. Vulnerability, but also
sometimes you get. Go ahead, Tina.
Oh, I was going to say vulnerability, but also allowing yourself a little grace. When my mom passed, it was my aunt and my uncle, as usual, my rocks that were, with me. And my aunt was upset because it was her sister, and we were leaving the room, and she was like, but where does your mom go? Where do we do it? I said, well, she can't come with us. Right? Now, my poor aunt is emotionally reacting to the fact she just lost her sister. Never mind, we've had this trail of deaths ever since. And she's like, but who's going to stay with her? I said, she died, right? Like, we're going to go. They're going to clean her up. They're going to take her to the morgue, and then she goes to the funeral home. Yeah, I know, but we need to do something. I said, would it help if I turned the TV on? And my mother and I love QVC. I'm like, I'll put QVC on to keep her entertained. And she was like, okay, that's good. And as we were leaving the hospital, I was like, why were you just such a bitch? But that was my, those were my emotions coming through. And I had to identify them in a way that was like, why are we worried about the deceased body lying in the bed? It's not going anywhere, and it certainly can't come home with me. Like, it was just
a reality moment.
Yeah,
it's a reality moment for her. I don't think it was registering yet that my sister is no longer in that body.
And that's normal. But when you're in this stoic space where you just have to keep going and remain strong because everybody's relying on you for something, I was just like, I don't know how to answer this question, but she is not coming home with me. Like, let's just turn on the TV.
When my father passed, anybody that was in my environment, if I was crying, it was happening because it was the first time that I ended up grieving all of the losses from when my mom died when I was 7.
Everything before him.
Yep, that was the first time that I actually grieved all of them. So if you were around or in my environment, and all of you, even the ones on here know, because they both had moments with me, it was happening. I had to let it out, and it was huge because it was so freeing at the same time. But yes, there were definitely moments of like checking myself at first, like, I'm sorry, this is happening right now. And then there was like, no, this needs to happen, because growing up, it was very much, you didn't see people cry when people passed in environments where their parents were passing and they weren't crying. So I can see where there's just a generational, and we're just kind of at a place where it's like, we gotta allow it to come through, because oh my God, Manon, it stays with you longer like an acid if you don't allow yourself to grieve. I'm just being real. You know what I mean? Because it'll haunt you. It'll stay in your back pocket and sneak up on you and play out in your environment until you in a process.
I think that every time you're going through a new grief, all the old ones come running right along with it. So you're kind of stacking it, right? So whether it be the loss of a grandparent, you got a loss of a parent, you got a loss of a child or a cousin or a best friend, or, as we get older, someone's going to outlive somebody, right? So, but I think what happens is I think the emotions are very similar for each loss. Relationship's going to be a little different, but it's going to tack on. It's going to be like, oh, this is how I felt when my grandparents died, and that's part of it too. And it does change you. You're going one direction, all of a sudden you're changing just a little bit, and now you're going to go this direction, and that old Karen isn't there. You get the new one that I can smile, I can be joyous, I can have a light, but there's also a past, and it's with me. I can just choose to share that with the relationship that I'm having with whoever's in front of me, whether I mention it or not. So I think that was one of the biggest things, especially with children, is people to answer that question. People, how many kids do you have? And that's just a common, benign question. That's this conversation as we get to know people. And in fact, one word that Craig really struggled with being in public after Patrick died, and they would say, "How are you doing?" And I'm like, and he's like, "They don't want to know how I'm doing." I said, "They're not asking you how you're doing. People really don't want to know how you're doing. It is a salutation. It is you're greeting someone at the grocery store. Hey, how you doing?" And I learned to just redirect it as the question instead of saying, "Hey, how's it going?" Say, "Man, this weather has been so hot. It's been so cold. It's been whatever," and totally turn it around and not take it as a personal question. How are you doing? Because that's not the question that they're asking. They're just saying, "Hey, how you doing?" That's all that is. And I could not get him to digest that concept at all. He was too raw.
You helped me shift that in a way, though, of understanding that, like, not everybody needs to hear exactly what's regurgitated or is even safe to share that with, because there's a lot of people that when you aren't really processing it, that will end up getting the licks from, you know what I mean, the unprocessed trauma that you're experiencing, and they might be like, what the hell? I was just passing through in Lowe's, just trying to say hello, dumped on, and you don't realize it, and then you go in your head like, oh my god, I just did all of that. So I could so relate to that in a totally different way, but understand, like, there is just that kind of like surface, but when you're stuck in it, you're just stuck at such a deep level that it's almost feels like it's impossible to have surface level conversations in those times.
It's
So Tina, what has been some of the key things for you to, it's been 3 years. So what have you found to be, I don't know, a positive way to be able to think about mom and dad and smile and not cry?
Yeah, so I appreciate you asking that because I was going to share. I struggled for the longest time after they died. So they died 11 months apart. We knew my father was sick and he was going to die. My mother, she had an illness, but we didn't expect to find out she was going to die a month after diagnosis. And so for me, I found myself in a place of not knowing who I was grieving. I felt like it was taken away from me to grieve my father, allow myself the time that I needed to do that. And then you throw my mother into the mix, and now I'm having all these emotions, and I'm just like, who the hell am I grieving for right now? And that was the biggest challenge for me. That actually is what put me in therapy because I couldn't identify the emotions. I couldn't identify who they were for. So what I started to do was before my dad died, he loved gardening. He had his rose bushes that he admired. So I said, "Dad, I need a sign from you when you're in a better place. I need a rose to come out early, or I need a toothpick on the floor," because he carried toothpicks everywhere he went. And that May, he died May 21st, and the roses bloomed a week later, and probably a good month earlier. And that is my connection to my dad now, is that rose bush. So I'll find myself sitting near that rose bush, kind of just taking things in, having conversations. With my mom and I were very close. So I actually had a very hard time leaving the house to go out without her in the car. It felt weird that I was going to somebody's home for an event and she wasn't with me, and it kind of spiked that anxiety I had. But with my mom, I am learning to embrace that she was like a survivor. She lived with pancreatic cancer that we didn't know she had, And if you've ever been around somebody with pancreatic cancer, the pain is real. And she was suffering. And I busted her chops more than I should have because I didn't know she was that sick. And the joke would be, Mom, wake up, you can't sleep all day. Like, let's go. I was forcing her to do stuff a cancer patient on their final days shouldn't be doing. So I take the time to do things that my mom and I enjoyed. We're home good fanatics. We like to go out and do shopping. So my aunt and I continue those traditions, and we spend time together, and we're with her. We talk about her. On the holidays or their birthdays, my aunt and uncle will call and say, "Let's go out and celebrate Mom's birthday." I feel that is the most. That's what brings me joy, is sitting at a table and remembering and talking about my mom and just her, because it's her day, and keeping her spirit alive. Now, I'm an only child, Karen. I was their caregiver, so not only did I go through grief, but I went through identity shifting.
You lost identity.
Yeah, I don't know who the hell I was. There's days where I still don't know who I am. But I walk into an empty house and it's quiet, and all of a sudden I have to sit with it. I can't hide from it. So I have learned to maintain the traditions, to challenge myself outside my comfort zone, to do something, to say something in honor of their life. And honestly, the best thing I could do is just continue to be me. And because I know that they were very proud of me. And so I maintain that inside of me is what would make them happy.
And feel free
Tina,
to
you
comment
said
down
something
below.
which
Sorry, I was just
I'm
going to say,
sorry.
comment down below real quick how you guys might honor those that you may have lost. Feel free to put that in the comments. We would love to know. Feel free to share. Go ahead, sorry.
Tina, you mentioned something about stacking grief, and I want to address that for a minute. One of the seminars that Craig and I went to the first year at the Compassionate Friends Conference in Chicago, and he was a blubbering mess. I mean, to get him to walk into a conference room was tough, and we ended up in this one called Multiples, and it was supposed to be parents who have lost multiple children, so we would fit right into that. And unfortunately, you get a group saying, oh yeah, I lost my child, and then I lost my dog, or I lost my uncle, I lost my mom and my dad, and it is totally different in our emotional world. But there was one other man there who had lost two sons 5 years apart, two different marriages. So you've got two kids at this marriage, two kids at this marriage, and lost one of each. And Craig said to him, how he barely had a year of grieving for Christopher, and their relationship was totally different than what his relationship with Patrick was. How do you say, I'm grieving so much more for Patrick and I'm not giving that to Christopher? So you would stack the grief. How do you decipher? And this man gave just a wonderful answer. He said, your relationship to each child was different. And you need to give yourself grace to understand that. And it's okay if you are grieving one harder, more than another. And then you get the guilt feeling, the fact that I'm not grieving this one as much as I did this one. And whether it be mom or dad, or, one was sick and one wasn't sick, and one, and you can play so much in your mind and try to mentally try to decipher it. But, your mind and your body can contradict quite a bit. And that stacking is very common.
It is. And I appreciate you sharing that, because for the longest time I thought I was just crazy, that like people, even my own therapist was like, they're too sad. I'm like, you don't understand. You don't understand when the emotion comes in, it's not identified. This is for dad. Oh, now you're going to be upset and cry for mom. But what I learned to do was sit with what I was feeling, and then I could make the connection. And I was like, this is totally coming. This is about my dad. I'm missing the fact that on our Sundays we're not watching our shows, and it's a Sunday and I'm sitting here watching the shows. So I had to start to connect the dots, and that's what kind of helped me start to now they're just together, and I get it, and they're in peace and where they should be, and so I don't need to recognize that. Now I just recognize it as they're still here. There's a piece of me with them, and there's pieces of them with me, and I know they're still here. Their souls are around.
And I think you mentioned another key word of identity, right? We are identity. I'm identified as a wife and a mother, and all of a sudden you like, well, now what do I do? Now who am I? And as we're getting older, so I'm allowing myself, right, to we have no grandkids. I'm fine with that right now. Let me go and enjoy my life a little bit and adventures, and especially while you're still young and healthy enough to do a little traveling or just I just love sitting on the couch and holding his hand and watching a TV show.
It's a connection. It's a
It's
connection,
peace.
and it's a beautiful
Absolutely.
connection. And nobody has the right to judge you for that connection or how long it took. This was all
And I don't take
beautiful.
and I don't take what anybody says. That's another part of it, right? People can judge you, but you can decide whether to accept it or just say, well, that's your feeling. You're not going to affect how I'm supposed to feel.
That's right.
But for
But
a
that's
long
hard.
time, Karen, you were living in survival mode in a way with the
Oh,
relationship and the
absolutely.
experiences. So now holding hands on a couch is somebody's Hawaii trip on an island. You know what I mean?
It's
Because you have that,
peace, man. It's
yeah,
peace.
absolutely. And that kind of
I
peace
did
is,
not realize I did not realize how I didn't realize how chaotic my life was
mhm.
and how much peace is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know we are getting close to time, and Nicole knows I love to close with a reflection. So, Karen, first, I just need to say that I find you to be such a courageous individual with a big heart and someone who can help others move forward. So, I truly hope those that are listening tonight can find their way to you and to your story, because words are powerful, emotions are powerful, but your faith and your resilience is what makes you superwoman.
Thank you.
So, on that note, I do just want to do a very short reflection just in honor of all of the emotions that people are feeling, either right now during this conversation or real time in a moment of their own personal situation at home. So, just remember, take one gentle breath. It's about grounding yourself. Some losses don't mend, they remake you. Karen is definitely one of those stories. Sit still, somewhere inside the darkness, a small light will begin to flicker. You don't have to chase it, just notice it. Give it a give it a nudge. That tiny glow is proof that love and grief can live in the same heart, and that you are slowly, quietly finding your way back to life. And I commend you again on acknowledging that flicker of light and just seeing you with the smile and the energy in your voice is it's just so rewarding to know that there is light at the end of a tunnel.
And I love to always say that what I learned from Garrett is that the destination is the ride. And I believe that this is just another part of your journey, and I'm so excited to be a part of it and experience it. Um, Everybody that's watching and listening in, I always say you woke up today, your soul still has purpose on this planet, so you might as well go out there and live it as authentically you, unapologetically you as you can. We have now made it 7 days in of our 30 days going live from 7 to 8 p.m. I'm so grateful that we have these roundtable discussions. If you ever feel inclined that you would like to share your story as well, feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, we will be back here tomorrow night for day 8 of 30. and I guess we will see what will unfold. Love and light, and you guys have a beautiful night.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you.
Bye.